Hi, I'm David Huboi. Welcome to Going Green TV. This television show is sponsored by the San Benito County Chamber of Commerce. And coming from the Green Business Committee, our message is economic vitality along with environmental sustainability. Guest on our show today is Gabriel Torres from CHISPA. He's a project manager, fellow planning commissioner. And then on our second segment, we'll have representatives from Comstock Community Farms, a local organic farmers. Welcome to the show, Gabriel. Good to see you.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate the invitation.
Oh, by all means. Yeah, it's always good to see Gabriel. We as I say, he's a fellow planning commissioner and a project manager and has an extensive experience and an impressive resume. He went to Cal Poly.
Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
And you hold a Bachelor's of Science degree in City and Regional Planning with an emphasis on housing and community development and construction management.
Correct.
Wow. Before I go into some of the other things that you're associated with, let me ask you this. What got you into planning and construction? What inspired you as a young man?
As a youngster, my parents, we volunteered with the Salvation Army at a very young age, and my mom was with the Salvation Army for almost 26 years, retired from the Salvation Army, Senior Information and Referral Services. So growing up, we were constantly working, volunteering, working with community groups to better our community. And so that, I think, was the seed that got me into housing and community development, more specifically into planning. I did a lot of volunteer work throughout my high school and in some of my junior college years. And I found the City and Regional Planning degree, or program, to be a perfect fit. And it provided me, especially in housing and community development, provided me a very diverse opportunity to do not only planning, but also get into the construction fields and just housing and economic development.
Great, yeah. And CHISPA specializes in affordable housing.
That's correct.
So with your experience with the Salvation Army and all, did that help get you as a segue into affordable housing advocate?
In some of the housing, yes. We dealt with a lot of the homeless folks who are taking advantage of the resources that were available through the Salvation Army, through not only the holiday events that provide food and shelters during the winter months, but we were focused on in those months in providing that housing and finding temporary housing for a lot of homeless families. And so I was involved in that. And so that respect, yes, it was an eye-opener to see the great number of folks who were in need of housing and just could not either afford it or just the family makeup didn't work for them to either buy a home or get into an apartment complex. So.
That's great, yeah. I got into as an advocate for affordable housing when I was working as a landscape kind of a foreman when I was going to San Jose State, and we would have our dinners with the laborers and I really formed a bond and empathized with their struggles. Right. And eventually I got into architecture, followed the footsteps of my father, was an architect.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you're in community. You have a lot of community service experience with the Alliance of Aging.
Yeah, Alliance of Aging for seniors.
And you're on the Hartnell College Construction Technology Task Force.
That's correct.
Okay. And also, as we say, City Hollister Planning Commissioner. He's a great planning commissioner, by the way.
Thank you.
Does a great job. And the Salinas Valley Builders Exchange,
Yes.
right? Well, and you have a lot of clubs, a lot of them, I know you were, still are a Build It Green professional.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know. I also shared that experience with you on that one. And let's talk about CHISPA now. CHISPA, the acronym, it stands for Community Housing Improvement Systems and Planning Association. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about CHISPA. Sure. And some of the projects that you've done that CHISPA has worked on.
So CHISPA is a private nonprofit. We've been in business this January will be 35 years, and we are governed by a board of directors. We have an 8-member board of directors. The mission is basically to provide affordable housing opportunities in Monterey, Santa Cruz, and San Benito County. Excuse me. And when we say affordable housing opportunities, we were talking about multifamily apartment complexes, senior apartments, We also are special needs facilities. We do have a couple of facilities that are dealing with transitional youth who are transitioning out of foster care and are becoming independent. So there's a structured program for them in these facilities. And then also on our single family side, we do a mutual self-help housing program where the families volunteer a certain number of hours to build their own home over a 12-month period. And then we also have another single family component, which is called our moderate income housing program, that is geared towards those folks who cannot afford the current market rate homes that your national builders are building in the various communities. So we, as part of our mission within our developments, because we are a developer, we are a builder, we are our own general contractor as well. So our goal is to provide that community service. So in our apartment complexes, we serve that apartment complex. Within that apartment complex, we have community services that are providing ESL classes, education, computer classes, music. So there are structured programs that are provided to not only that apartment complex, but to the adjacent community, single-family homes that we will either build either using a mutual self-help housing program or our moderate income housing program, which are sold to large growers in the area, local organizations. Our target is provide local folks housing opportunities, and so we try to make a very well-rounded package within that development and provide those services not only to that community but anybody outside of that community who wishes to take advantage of those services or programs.
It's a wide range of services
Absolutely.
for the community. Let's talk about affordable housing as a concept.
Sure.
What does affordable housing mean?
When we speak of affordable housing, we look in the communities and we look at what the area median income, so what a typical family of four is earning in a yearly basis. So it's structured where either it's 30% of area median income, 80% or 120% of area median income. So families will fall under a certain range depending on the family size, and those income levels are typically what drives not only the financing that's used for developing those apartment complexes or single family homes. It's geared towards those folks who are basically being priced out in their communities and don't have those opportunities readily available to them.
You know, when I worked on the housing element for the city of Hollister, there is a very dire need for affordable housing for these low-income groups.
Right.
And coupled with impact fees and trying to make the pencil out, how do you get these projects off the ground? I mean, how do you get them to pencil out?
Well, and let me back up a little bit too. When we talk about affordable housing, and we call it low income, we basically will try to not use the low income. We'll call it the workforce housing, because we will, everybody has an income limit that they fall into, and so we will target farm workers. We will target folks who work in retail. If you look at some of the area median incomes in certain communities, there are folks who are earning a decent salary a year, but will literally fall into a low income category if you looked at it on the official charts that we use to secure the financing necessary for these developments. And so to answer your question, it is a very difficult process to build these developments, as we are paying exactly the same as a typical national developer would for a property. We pay the same fees for the architectural and the engineering services, those professional services to design the development, to do outreach within the community. We take a few extra steps in getting input from the community as far as what they want. We're not just bringing in a development and just dropping it on the ground and saying, this is what you got and this is what you're going to get. We do go out and do outreach and get input from those community members, and as far as the design, the feel, especially in the jurisdictions as well. Depending on the area we're building, is there something missing from this area? So if there's, say for example, we're building a multifamily apartment complex and there is a park nearby that is in dire need of repair, we will partner with other nonprofit groups or go after grant monies to get that repaired as well. But typically we are using financing from local, state, federal sources of funding that's tied to affordable housing. Tax credit financing, USDA Rural Development, the state of California and the Department of Housing and Community Development, HCD. have a number of different programs that are geared towards homelessness, farm workers, special needs, seniors, and we're very thankful that those are in place, but it does take a lot of effort from our local legislators to maintain that flow of funding, so we can continue, we and others like us throughout the state can continue to provide the housing necessary.
So some of your projects, they respond to local specific needs within that context. Do you use local laborers and contractors?
Yes. And we do use the locals as much as possible, and I will say that we have made an extra effort in doing so because those funding sources I mentioned are becoming more and more stringent. They want to see expertise in the various fields of the mechanical side, heating and ventilation, the electrical, the framing techniques. We are going into a realm now where those methods have to be done, or those processes have to be done by somebody who has gone through training in various green building programs. So we're talking about energy measures, we're talking about waste diversion, using framing techniques that save on the amount of lumber that you're using. So we've had to train a lot of our local subcontractors to understand those concepts and train their crews to understand those concepts, because it's for the benefit of everybody. It gets the price down on the cost of construction. It provides a very well built facility or unit, whether it be a single family or a multi-family home, energy efficient, and ultimately the end user is who we want to benefit from these, the process, if you will. There are lower utility bills, comfort level within the home or the apartment complex. And so it's a well-rounded process that we have with our subcontractors.
It's like we call a holistic process. Exactly. So you're able to keep the initial costs low and also keep these projects sustainable.
Exactly.
Are there any projects you'd like to share with the viewers?
Sure. We have a number of projects over the last 5 years. We've completed 3 multifamily developments and 2 single-family developments that were built under the Build It Green program. And we're rated in the 130 point category, which if comparable to a LEED gold status, so it was fairly high up in the rankings as far as the green developments are concerned. And we are currently working on a development in Hollister that will be our first LEED gold development. So it'd be a 41 unit multifamily apartment complex. The single family homes will more than likely build those under the Energy Star 3 version 6 guidelines, so those well exceed the current Cal Green standards, and will have the latest technology, the latest building methods used in, and will ultimately benefit again the end user, which will be the renters or the home buyers who purchase the single family homes.
Wonderful. Yeah, there's a lot of recording and for the LEED gold, I know that.
Absolutely.
And then you have LEED for residential projects. Correct. And then the one for commercial projects. We talk about affordable housing and all the array of different affordable housing projects that you've mentioned, and there's one that we've worked on is micro homes for homeless, and we're working on a concept, and we have the homeless shelter, but it's for communal shelter, but there is a need, and it has been these similar types of projects. One in Washington where they have small little homes,
right.
that are very small, that are portable, and they're part of a village where it's like transitional from a laundry room communal shelter to these small little micro homes, and actually these people that they actually govern themselves. They're almost a self-governing community. Have you ever wanted to get involved in that type of a project?
Yes, we are actually now getting more involved in that because of the funding that's being provided via the state or even through USDA rural development are dealing with a lot of homeless issues, whether they be farm workers or veterans. More funding is becoming available for those types of housing opportunities, whether it be multifamily or the single family that you're talking about, the developments. And so agencies like CHISPA are having to change, not necessarily change gears, but add a component to their overall scope or their mission to add that particular homeless facilities, homeless services, So we're partnering with other agencies who are experts at that, and are being part of a team. And by no means are we the experts in homeless. So it's you partner up with the right agencies, and that team can come up with some very sustainable developments that will work, and that the homeless individuals or families will ultimately use and benefit from.
Right, and also there's environmental consequence for the quasi camps, like the one they have in San Jose called the Jungle, which spending $4 million to clean up the jungle, and but providing a microhome village is less impact on the environment, and also providing a home sense of home ownership for the homeless individual. So
and then having those agencies be available at those communities to address the needs of those individuals or families. If it's job training, getting them back into into the mix of the community in some form or another, education, things of that nature.
I think it's great to not only providing a shelter, but providing a service, services for these individuals that are in such a dire need.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. Well, hey, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely,
if people want to find out more about CHISPA, you have a website, right?
Yes, www.chispahousing.org.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on the
Thank
show,
you,
Gabriel.
Dave. I appreciate it.
I'd like to get you back on
Absolutely.
as you develop these projects. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank
Wonderful.
You.
Thanks for all the good work that
No
you
problem.
do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Hey, you're back watching Going Green. And I attended an HDA breakfast, and this wonderful group of folks here from Comstock Community Farms won a Community Spirit Award. And I thought it'd be wonderful to have them on the show because they do organic farming, and they have education programs, and they give a lot of your organic farming produce to the community food bank, right?
That's right. We give it all to them.
And so this is our holiday show in the spirit of giving. I thought these were a great guest to have on the show today. So you're Flora Salinas, and Flora, you're the farm manager, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we have Sara. What do you do, Sara?
I'm a co-founder and I'm the education coordinator.
Wonderful. And Gerardo, is am I pronouncing it
Yes,
right?
Gerardo, but either way is
Okay.
fine.
I don't know, it'd take me a long time before I could pronounce it like that. But
Not
go
a
ahead.
long enough show to figure that one out.
Yeah. What do you do?
I'm the one of the co-founders and the director of the project. Just really engaged in the project.
And you're all in Hollister, right? Is that the location of the farms?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you been in business?
Well, we started out back in 2009, and it was just an idea that sprouted from kind of like what your show's about, which is giving back. It was during the economic downturn, and originally I was driving, listening to NPR, and I heard about the tent city that was going on in Sacramento. It was basically a lot of people who were homeless at the time, who didn't have food, and I came up with the idea of like, well, what can we do? And we grew up with we grew up at the farm with my mom, Flora, Sara, and all my siblings, and we thought of maybe growing food. So we sat around and came up with the idea of just growing a small plot of the field, growing some tomatoes and some chilies and bell peppers, and that's kind of how it started.
I see. And so do you come from a farming background in your ancestry, or is it
Actually,
is it in your blood?
It's not farming, it's farm worker history.
Farm worker history.
Yes, our forefathers, grandparents were farm workers. That's how they came to California as farm workers to Mexico.
I see.
So we're from the other end. We're the pickers, not the growers.
Oh, And anything that Sara, and your education programs, how can you talk a little bit about what that is? What type of education do you provide?
We try to implement some type of a curriculum when we have events. That way, we have a lot of young children who come with their parents. So while the parents are out in the field working, the kids can participate in a workshop. So we'll have a theme for every event. They learn about healthy eating. They learn about where their food came from. A lot of young children think that meat comes, on a styrofoam tray wrapped in plastic and don't understand the process of the sack of potatoes that you see in the market and stuff like that. What is involved in doing all of the process, healthy eating, growing your own food, getting their hands in the soil is a really neat thing.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff.
Giving them that tangible experience, getting them away from their little video games and learning how wonderful it is to grow things. And with organic, the organic agriculture, Gerardo, maybe you can talk about how you do that. As you say, no pesticides, no synthetic fertilizers.
Sure. Well, since we've been living there, we've never really used any fertilizer, synthetic, any chemicals on the farm, and so we've always had a natural approach to farming. And one thing that's really refreshing about that is I have my own children out there, so they're walking through the field, and my daughter learned how to walk. She was about 6 months when we started the project, and she learned how to walk and crawl through the field. And the idea of having a pesticide just have been sprayed in the field and her eating the vegetables would have been kind of a scary thought. So that was also a motivator. It takes a lot more work when you're doing more conventional, less conventional farming, meaning that you get weeds like crazy. They grow, sometimes a foot a week. I mean, it's incredible. And the soil's hard. You have to come up with different ways you have to rotate as well. So you don't get to work in the same field. You have to move your operation a little bit each year. And so it's a process. It's a lot of work, but when you have your kids, when you have your community crawling through the fields, eating the food fresh, you feel a lot better about it.
Sounds like you get a lot of volunteers from the community that get involved in the process. Is that correct?
Yeah, we started out with an article. We first did it just us, the family, and then the next year we put an article in the Pinnacle Farm, our Pinnacle newspaper, asking for volunteers. We had a picture, a little bit about the project, and we had all these families come, a lot of children. We had an educational booth, and it's just blossomed since then.
Wonderful, yeah. So a lot of people from not only young people, but the parents and all find out how wonderful it is to get involved in organic farming, right? Yeah. So with the, coming into the the holiday season, do you have any special events that in the horizon with Comstock Community Farms that you care to share with the viewers? Anything that new?
We just had our Harvest Festival, and it's the season has come to an end. So we had a celebration to thank all of our volunteers for the work that they did over the season. So during this time, it's a dormant period on the farm. Well, we do have a hoop house that the USDA donated to us, so we can grow year-round. So we're trying to get that completed so that the farming season will be year-round versus March to September or October. So what we're doing right now in our downtime is exploring different grants. That way we can build the infrastructure of the farm, and we would love to have a classroom, an outdoor classroom with restroom facilities, things like that, where we can really focus a lot more on the educational aspect, because we do have a lot of schools that are requesting to come for field trips, and we've hosted several field trips with local schools, and it's very popular. And so that's the kind of what we're focusing on, is a lot of the educational part, but also maintaining the part where we're growing for the food bank for low-income families, so they have access to organic, fresh produce.
Right. Well, that strikes a responsive chord with our architectural business, because we are working on designs for a new community food bank.
Yes.
So, there's a nexus there. And then in the previous guest, we were talking about microhomes and providing housing for homeless, transitional housing, and the holistic approach, not only providing housing, but providing other services for people that are in need. And what you're providing is almost in the same way. You're providing more than just organic farming. You're providing other services like education, and I think that's great. It's very commendable for you. So,
Thank you.
For me, the piece that inspires me was kind of like what this award was. We nominated Flora, my mom, for the Spirit Award, and is because she opened her property up. And I have a house, and And I have people come over, but I know how hard it is to have new people come to my home. And she opened up her entire farm. And she has people going into her house like, where's the restroom? Oh, it's down two doors to the right. And she's cooking food, and she's bringing out burritos in the morning for the volunteers.
Coffee.
And coffee. She makes sure that it's very like, just like a mom would, right? Always having the food, always having a nice space. And she's a grandma, and she raised us kids, and so she tries to make it really friendly, very welcoming to families. And that's a piece that I think is important, because our community in Hollister, as wonderful as it is, it doesn't always have a space for families where they can go, where it doesn't cost a lot of money. Unfortunately, you have to go,
It doesn't cost anything
Yeah, it doesn't cost
to
anything.
come to the
And
farm.
not only that, but there are, the fact that there are ranches and farms and fields all around, yet a lot of kids don't have any access at all. Once a year they'll have a farm day at Bellotto Park, but during the summer, what can you do? Everything's private, everything's fenced nowadays. So by, by opening up the farm, we give access to children, the families, grandmas, grandpas. We've had students from Gabilan College come and, learn about the house we built. We built our house with recycled materials. We tore down a house, we used the material, all the flooring was from a burnt post office in San Francisco. So they come and they learn about, building a house with salvage materials. That's something, that we've done too with the college. That's what the older students are about. And as far as the young kids, it's important to bring them on the property so they can, enjoy the farm, look at animals, walk in the fields, participate in the growing. And it creates young volunteers for Hollister at the same time. We have a lot of young junior high students, high school students volunteering, and I think that they will continue to do so, when they get older, once they've done it.
Sounds like your operation is growing then.
It's really important, get young people involved. It doesn't matter what they do, as long as they do something for the community.
Great.
Just the way you were thinking about, homeless and finding ways to provide shelter. In our community, we have a lot of farm workers. We have very low income population.
That I know that.
Yes.
When I worked on the housing element, I was talking with Gabriel Torres from CHISPA, and our previous guest. There is a dire need for affordable housing for the very low income.
Right.
Yeah. Or workforce housing.
Yes.
Excuse me. You corrected me.
And another sore point is the fact that we have farm workers living in Hollister, yet they cannot afford to buy organic food. Their incomes are so low. They get minimum wages.
If they can't afford to buy the food that they pick and
Yes,
grow.
exactly.
That's a very common challenge.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
But what's
sad
nice,
situation.
like a funny story just about how nice it is for the food bank to get the vegetables is, a few weeks ago we had a bunch of middle school students from Spring Grove come out, and Sara took them on a trip to the food bank, and they spent like 30 minutes picking a big box of really nice chilies, and they dropped them off, and one of the people went out there and tried to grab them really quick because they saw they were fresh, and the kids were like shocked, like why are they like taking all our chilies that we spent like 30 minutes an hour picking. And they learned a lesson that food is scarce. Good quality, delicious food is not what you always get when you're low income. You get canned food, you get seconds, and the kids were just like, they had all these different emotions coming out, and there was a really nice conversation that they had. Like, why did she want to grab all the chilies, We put in so much time. They also learned the value of the work, that it took them an hour to pick one box of chilies. I mean, and they didn't even grow it, they just picked it. And so it was a neat experience for them.
Nice.
And it was all hands on. There was
It makes a difference, the organic chilies. I know that when they're freshly, picked from an organic farm other than the canned chilies. I mean, we had a guest from Enza Zadin, worked on a project for them, and we had in all the wonderful organic vegetables there, and boy, you can really tell the difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if people, anything else that you'd like to share with the viewers about Comstock Community Farms?
Comstock Community Farm belongs to the people of Hollister. It's a community farm for members of Hollister. We've had people come from as far as San Francisco who, want to see what our operation is about, and everyone is welcome. You can find us on Facebook.
The word is getting out.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we have a calendar there, and
Mhm.
a list of activities for children, and everyone's welcome.
Well, that's wonderful, and I didn't get the opportunity to congratulate you for the Community Spirit Award, Flora.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think what you're doing is just a
Thank you
great,
so
great
much.
service, and
Thank you so much.
I wish you all the luck, and hope you have a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you,
And
same to you.
And I want to thank you for coming on the show today and sharing with the viewers about Comstock Community Farms.
Thank you for having
much.
us.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome. Hi, you're back watching Going Green. I wanted to have the members here from Comstock Community Farms share with this holiday closing segment here and let you know that I took this wonderful trip to the Grand Canyon, and we started out at Antelope Canyon, went to the Grand Canyon, this my wife Ravina and I, and then we went to Bryce Canyon, Zion, and then we went back to the south rim. We actually went to the north rim of the Grand Canyon, after we toured the Antelope Canyon. And when we went to Bryce Canyon, I went into a bookstore and I purchased this book called Native American Wisdom. And while you're looking at some of the pictures that we took, I'd like to share with you and close this show with some words from Tin Bears, who was a Yamparika Comanche. He said that, "I was born upon the prairie where the wind blew free, and there was nothing to break the light of the sun. I was born where there were no enclosures and where everything drew a free breath. I want to die there and not within walls." I want you all to have a wonderful Christmas and have a bright, prosperous, and green New Year. Thanks for watching Going Green. We'll see you next time.